Hi WorldTempus family, welcome back to LVMH Watch Week 2023 here in beautiful Singapore, where we're bright and early this morning, and we're just about to go speak to Julien Tornare and Romain Marietta from Zenith and find out all about what's behind the newest launches of this year. Well, thank you so much for spending this time with us, and thank you so much for welcoming us to Singapore, which I know you guys particularly enjoy visiting, and needless to say, I love being here as well. So we're actually here for LVMH Watch Week, where you have launched some exceptional watches, and wanted to talk a bit about why we're actually here, because obviously this is the first physical LVMH Watch Week since 2020, which was the first edition, and it's so good to be back with everyone again, having the chance to actually look at these watches in a beautiful environment and talk about some really, really cool things that you guys have launched. Tell us, what does Singapore really bring to the table for Zenith? Because, as you know, a lot of experts point to Singapore as being really, really important for the watch business globally. What do you think it means for Zenith?
Well, first of all, Suzanne, thank you for being in Singapore with us. It's a pleasure always to see you and to talk about beautiful novelties that we have here. As you mentioned, we started this LVMH Watch Week in 2020 in Dubai. It was great. Then we moved to a digital version for 2 years. We all know why. And we're so happy to be back on the market. I think, we have this very well established watch salon, Watches and Wonders, in which we participate later in the year. But we really like to get together LVMH watch brand very early in the year and on the market, and that's probably the most important aspect. Sometimes it's important that the brands come to the market instead of welcoming everyone in Switzerland, and I think that's a great initiative we want to move on.
Yeah, in terms of reaching out.
Absolutely.
And of course, Singapore is a fantastic place to be at the beginning of the
It
year.
is.
And Zenith is a great brand to be spending time with at the beginning of the year. You guys have really not held back in terms of you didn't do something small, you went big. And I love that about 2023 coming in with a bang. So the highlights that you guys have shared with us this year in January is actually an expansion of the existing, very successful, I might add, Defy collection, which is the Defy Skyline Skeleton. Romain, I believe this is something you worked really extensively on.
Yeah,
Tell us about why this expansion is so important for the Defy collection, what it really brings to the table for Zenith.
It's a natural evolution of what we just launched previous year, like the Defy Extreme. We launched a more octagonal case shape in Defy, which is very important because it's really linked to our patrimony, linked to the very first Defy wristwatch from 1969. It brings to the table a chapter different than the El Primero, being the first, of course, in 1969 to bring the automatic chronograph. But not only this, also the Defy Boulon, let's call it like this, this specific case that has the first octagonal case shape and the decagonal bezel. So it was important for us to bring some more DNA character, boldness to the collection. So this is exactly what we have done with Defy Extreme first, and then the Skyline last year, LVMH Watch Week in Geneva, and now, of course, the open work, which is very important. It was very important in Defy Classic. It was one of the best sellers, still one of the best sellers. So we expect more success with this one, so it was a natural evolution.
Mm-hmm. One really special aspect that we can point out about the skeleton is that when we saw the Skyline last year, we saw this unique four-pointed star motif on the dial, and we see that now it's no longer a dial design, it is the dial. And the skeletonization also helps us see something very special hiding beneath the dial, usually that we wouldn't normally see in a full dial watch. And tell us a bit more about that and why it's so important for Zenith.
But the star is guiding us since day one. And it's once again very important to create the link, the bridge with the past, with the former, I would say, four-star branch. It gives also more, I would say, balance to the dial. It's more, in terms of aesthetically speaking, the indices are well located on the dial. It's much more legible, as you said. We can see more of the El Primero because it's an El Primero movement inside the three hands. So it gives everything an El Primero can give you, can show you, display you, tenths of a second, without the chronograph function. And of course, you can see more of the movement, you can see more of the escapement, you can see more of the heartbeats. So that was important.
Exactly. For me, I think this is the real highlight of the watch, that you put the 5 Hz escapement on show. In the previous version, in the first Skyline that we saw, it was very discreet. You could only see it from the small seconds indication, maybe. But now it's out there. it's catching the eye, it's flashy. It's something that's really...
And this one doesn't have the date indication like the plain dial, so it's different, and you have the tenths of a second indicator at 6 o'clock, so it's really well balanced and well established, and different from the plain dial, so it completes the offer also in a sense. So the skeleton is really very different than the plain dial.
Do you actually prefer having the date indication, or is this a request from the consumer side? Me personally, I know this is something that divides audiences, to have the date, to not have the date.
Specifically for
you
us,
hear
because
all
we
the
are
time.
Long-lasting debate.
Yeah.
4.5 date indication for us most of the time in the chronograph. Here it's quite logic, because if you have a skeletonized movement, you don't really want necessarily to see the date disc around the movement. So for us it was just natural not to having it, and once again complete the offer against the plain dial. So if you want to go for the date, go for the Skyline plain, and if she agrees, then if you want a no date, then go for a skeleton.
But on a plain dial, to answer your question, I think it's people tend to request the date. Yeah. On an automatic plain dial, they tend to request.
Visually, it can
Yeah.
be something that's coming to the eye.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a real function. It's really something that it's adding something to your watch, definitely.
It's one of the rare functions that we always use in a watch, to be honest.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. Yeah.
So moving on, we're in this beautiful, tropical, vibrantly colored environment with all these elements going on. Let's move on to something a bit more colorful in terms of the watch that we're presenting, the 36 millimeter that we have before us. Also something very colorful, something very versatile, in fact, because you would say that a 36 millimeter is not necessarily for one gender or another. It's actually very, very versatile. And the colors, although, you know, they bring a bit of brightness, they bring a bit of softness to the collection, they are actually also very versatile in that sense. Tell us a bit more about how you perceive these watches and how they fit into what the Zenith consumer is asking from the brand.
Yeah, sure. I think it's an addition to the a very logical addition to the Defy collection. You know, as I often say, most of our references are between 38 and 42. Then we go a bit with the extreme to 45, and we wanted to go also on the other side, which means a 36. It's a perfect balance. Beautiful watch, totally unisex, but as you know, at Zenith, we've been genderless for quite a while already. We make beautiful watches, and the clients decide if it's for a he or for a she. It goes exactly into this logic here. And you're right, we're bringing colors, we're bringing happiness. I think these watches are absolutely well balanced, without diamonds. We've had incredible reactions. Equipped with our 670 Elite movement, so super happy with this also. And I think it's a fantastic addition. Make the whole Defy collection very balanced.
Personally, if you had to choose one to wear for yourself, which one would you choose? Which one would you pick?
It's obvious, Julien, huh?
During the whole month of October, I was wearing the original pink version that we made for the October the breast cancer action that we took. So I love pink. I would wear the pink with pleasure. No
I think
problem.
it looks very well on you. What about you, Romain? I know you're more of a blue person.
I'm more of a blue person indeed, but I must admit that I would be able to wear even the pistachio, the light green, or the pink one. I have been surprised by the reaction of our men's audience so far. It's very good. And you remember when we did all the different prototypes, because we had at the beginning on the table, I don't know, something like 20 different colors, and we just chose this one on purpose. So it's just not, we are not bringing the light green, the pink, and the blue, and another one that is coming later on the table just for the sake of it. We just really chose them with our teams. And yeah, I think it's gonna be very successful.
For me, it's clearly confirming our point of view of genderless. It's clearly confirming that in some countries, people tend to go for smaller watches. In some countries, for men, wearing diamonds is totally normal. In other countries, less, you know. So it's just completing the offer and letting the clients choose what they want.
Absolutely. I love this approach, the fact that it's all about the consumer and what they want and their ability to choose, and empowering them to do exactly that. Now, you said something a bit earlier about exploring the different extremes of the Defy collection, and here I think we have a pure example of that, the Defy Extreme Glacier. And this is something that's at the same time very tough, but also very, very chic, very, very refined in a sense, even though it's, as we can see, a sports watch.
Yes, of course. I mean, Defy is the collection in which we can really have the fun, you know, and the creativity, and bring new things, and bring colors, and bring craziness. And My friend Romain is totally free, you know, to bring new ideas and new things, and he does it perfectly in the footsteps of the limited edition Desert that we had last year, which was an incredible success, 50 pieces limited edition. We come with the Glacier, and I think this watch is a fantastic addition. You know, today glaciers are disappearing step by step. And in Switzerland, we hear that by 2030, 2035, we might not have any more glacier in continental Europe, which is a big thing. So I think it's a little hint to this problematic also to bring this watch now today. And the reactions have been amazing, right? So tell us a bit how you worked on that one. How you came with the idea.
The idea with the Glacier, and you mentioned also the Desert from last year, is to work around the extreme environment. So obviously the desert, and here Arctic, iceberg, the ice, generally speaking. So the idea is to also match this this inspiration with a natural stone that you can find that looks like this or that evoke this environment. And here we are working for the first time ourselves, but within the watchmaking industry, it might be a first. Chalcedony, it's a natural stone. It looks like ice on your watch, used for the layer under the bezel and the pusher protector. And indeed, as you said, it's a playground, and extreme is the the piece really where you can really mix, combine materials. It's a vessel for the 100th of a second chronograph, which is amazing, and you can really mix the different combination of material. Also on the dial, it's a sapphire dial here with the frosted effect to make it looks like it's totally iced, I would say. So yeah, and there's going to be, of course, a third opus coming next year. I won't reveal it, but it's going to be around the jungle.
No, I love it. And you're right about the Chalcedony. It has this remarkable transparency that really gives something quite unique to the appearance of the watch. This is the first time that you've worked with this kind of hard stone materials in this collection, well, in the Defy collection in general.
And this stone has some special properties, bringing you inner peace, making you having a good vibe and giving you, something very positive. So we'll see, but
it's the stone of the intelligence.
Absolutely, absolutely. So it has a nice storytelling around it.
I love that. This is here we have the epitome of mechanical watchmaking, but also with a little philosophical, philosophical side. Now, from something quite sort of transparent and talking about the ice and glaciers to something very vividly colored. Now, at the time of shooting, this has not yet been launched, but by the time you guys are watching this video, it will be. So we feel very free in talking about this.
I'm allowed to.
And I think we'll see very quickly why I've been looking forward to this launch for such a long time.
It's your watch, Susie.
Yeah.
It is a Susie watch.
It's Susie's watch.
This is the year of the red dial.
Absolutely.
And you'll forgive me if I put it on and not take it off.
Please.
For the rest of the time
Do
here.
it.
And of course, we've been talking a long time about the Defy revival and all its different variations, but how this one in particular is so exceptional and I think beloved by a lot of collectors and a lot of Zenith aficionados and enthusiasts out there just because of its very, very unique design proposition, how it presents itself. Like, for example, the hour markers, which is something that you really see in a lot of watches, but it's something very, very typical, something very representative of a particular era of design in watches. And that really, really stands out. That's something that I personally love. I know you really enjoy it as well.
The Toblerone indices.
The Toblerone.
We said together.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
No, it's an historical reference that was launched in 1971, the 3691. It's one of the first also gradient dial that we have done, ruby red, in that super 70s funky case that we brought to the table in 1969, the first octagonal case shape. And this is basically the inspiration of the whole collection now, with the shape of the case, the bezel. Everything comes from this type of watches. We launched last year the first revival in Defy. We have a lot in Chronomaster, and this is for every single big launch we tend to have some revival because we have some chapters to let the people discover in our history.
I mean, that's the lucky thing about working with a brand like Zenith. You have such a rich history with so many chapters to explore. And if I'm not wrong, the red dial, as as contemporary and modern and strong as it looks, was actually part of some of the vintage pieces. It was actually there, present already in the archives.
True.
It was part of the catalog since 1971. So it's an historical piece. We were amongst the first to work on gradient dial. So we keep on pushing. There's this one, and this one joined the co-collection. So it's not limited as the first one was last year. And we had very good feedbacks on the first one, and obviously this one will make happy a lot of people, just not only because of the picture, of the color, sorry, but also because of the vintage look that might remind them the early 70s.
Exactly. No, it's very evocative, definitely, in that sense.
And it's a living proof of how we can play between the past and today, 21st century. You know, it's funny you have these two on the tray. You know, it's part of the same family. And I mean, it's clear. It's clear. You can see immediately the inspiration, the origin, and how we came from this to all the way here. You know, and that's very much Zenith.
Yeah.
He agrees as well.
Absolutely. See, all of nature is agreeing with us in that sense. They see the harmony between the two pieces, the evolution,
Absolutely.
the family look. And I'm so happy to hear you say, Romain, that this is not a limited edition, because you can definitely put my name as one of the first to get this.
Please take notes.
Take the order already. But how's been the reaction to this one so far? Because you have showed it to some people.
No, awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
awesome.
Amazing.
And it's not an easy color. I mean, let's be honest. It's not a blue one. It's not a blue dial. But indeed, it gives you so much. I would say flair from the 70s that it's just right. It sounds right. It looks right.
And you know, it's not also the most, I would say, commercial watch, because it's something that's more about the connoisseur and collectors in terms of shape. They know about the Gay Frère bracelet. They know about these late 60s, early 70s watches. But I believe strongly, and this is the comment I heard a lot, that clients that have more easy to wear watches are going to go for this kind of watch, because it's a great example of what was done in our brand in those years. And it's cool to have one watch that's very different from what you see on people's wrist.
Absolutely. And I think this watch is so representative of the kind of energy that we want to bring into 2023.
Exactly. True.
Gentlemen, once again, thank you so much for spending the time with us. It's always a pleasure to speak, and even more so here in Singapore. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your time here.
Our pleasure. Thank you very much, and see you soon.
Thank you.